everybody, my name's Luca, and the other day, me and my sister headed over to Pleasure House Natural Area for some sunrise wildlife photography. I had the opportunity to shoot a bunch of great pictures of some bufflehead ducks, and got really lucky with a bunch of snowy egrets who posed for me very nicely in a nearby tree. I also decided to bring my macro lens along, and I got some really cool close-up shots of different plants and vegetation that were around the area I was shooting. The lighting conditions were absolutely perfect this day, and I definitely got a bunch of keepers that I'm very excited to share with you now.
This early morning sunrise cast the absolute perfect light for wildlife photography. I was able to capture this shot of this bufflehead duck here, swimming throughout the oranges and greens in this nearby inlet. Here's a great one of a female bufflehead this time. I love the way that the reeds provide a nice foreground and give some context to the habitat that this animal lives in. The aqua and orange tones provide for a nice color grade and just further highlights the benefits of shooting in the best early morning light. And here's one of my favorite shots from the day. I love the pose that this bufflehead gave me, and I love how I was also able to capture two female buffleheads and another male bufflehead in the frame. It's always incredible to get multiple animals in one shot. Now, after photographing these buffleheads for around an hour, I was able to learn a little bit more about their behavior. These guys are always diving underneath the water to eat some aquatic invertebrate. So most of the time when you're photographing these creatures, they're not even to be seen at all. So at first, when you show up to a spot, there may not seem to be any buffleheads there, but if you wait around for a couple minutes, you might see some of these ducks popping their heads above the water, and that's exactly what you need to wait for. So have your autofocus points ready, make sure you're focused to around the distance you think they're going to appear, and as soon as they pop up, be ready to capture that shot with a couple of bursts. When I first arrived to Pleasure House Point Natural Area, I noticed that there were some snowy egrets flying above me. But I wasn't sure exactly where they were hanging out today. Luckily enough, I was able to stumble upon a couple of them. In this shot, I got 3 of them in the frame. But little did I know, in a tree right by me, there were actually 9 snowy egrets hanging out right here. Now, this shot isn't amazing by any compositional standards, but I think the sheer amount of egrets I was able to capture in one frame makes for this to be quite a magnificent image. And what was even more incredible about this experience was how close these animals allowed me to get to them. In this shot, I was able to capture 3 egrets, all in sharp focus, by taking 3 separate images where I focused on a single egret for each of them, and then compositing the image in Photoshop to make one file with 3 sharp birds. Just look at that lovely feather detail from this egret on the left, and I love how they're all facing the same direction. What a cool group of birds. And wow, just look at how that morning light hits this egret's eye, just really showing off the beauty of this bird here, as it perches itself with one of its legs, staring off in my direction. Here's another 2-shot composite this time, and I like how the egrets are both facing away from each other, which kind of adds to a interesting composition. Because I was able to get so close to these birds, I was able to capture a very shallow depth of field with my 100 to 400, all the way at 400 millimeters. Here's another great close-up portrait of this beautiful bird. I love how I captured its face just peering right above the leaves here. This foliage provided for some really great natural framing that also highlights the habitat this bird loves to hang out in. And here's another one with instead a blue sky as the background, which really makes the shot a lot less busy. And I love how the blue tones complement the nice warm light of the sunrise here. And here we got a great shot of some northern shovelers in flight. These interesting looking birds get their name from their shovel-like beak. And I really love the color patterns of these amazing looking ducks. Hopefully I get to capture some more images of these guys wading through some water in the future. In addition to bringing my telephoto zoom, I also love to carry around with me my macro lens. In this shot, I used my Tokina 100mm 2.8 and got really close to some of the reeds here. I also love to capture the smaller details and the plant life that surrounds the animal's habitat. Vegetation also plays a very large role in supporting the natural ecosystem, so I love to capture these small details that a lot of times we just walk by and overlook. And wow, just look at this close-up shot here. Getting low with a macro lens really allows you to tell a completely different story and reveal some details that we would not be able to see with our own naked eye. And did you know that there were wild cactuses growing in Virginia Beach? Prior to this day, I had no idea. But when I noticed these green and purple plants beneath my feet, I got low with my macro lens, pulled focus manually, and captured this incredible shot here. I love the natural colors of this plant, and I love all the incredible detail the macro lens is able to capture. Just look at these sand particles on the right here, as well as all these small little dots along the cacti. Here's a great shot of a bufflehead in flight. Here's a little bit more of a unique shot as I'm shooting these two male buffleheads in a very heavily backlit situation. Now, normally you want to avoid this kind of harsh light, but I really like the effect that this gave me, kind of distorting my subjects and giving me some nice sun stars and other flaring that really gives this image a unique feel to it. Here's another great one of a bufflehead in flight. I love all the water particles behind the bufflehead, and I chose a more tight horizontal crop here to just show the line of takeoff. I also love how I was able to capture this bird's orange and red feet, which is not really something you ever see, as these buffleheads are normally always just wading through the water. And I am not quite sure at all what this plant is, but I must have walked past hundreds of thousands of these weird looking sand broccoli, I guess. And wow, just look at all these sand particles on the side of these interesting looking plants. This shot I love because, one, I was able to isolate one of these singular plants here, but when I took the shot, I did not notice at all that there were actually 3 bugs on top of this head of broccoli here, looking like some sort of spider out of focus, and then 2 more mite-looking insects on top. And these bugs are definitely staying nice and healthy, getting a good portion of their vegetables. But I wish I would have noticed these guys out in the field, as I couldn't gotten some cool close-ups. But again, this just illustrates how much detail a macro lens can provide you that you would have just completely missed looking at this object with your naked eye.
So those were all of my best shots from the shoot. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite shot was, as well as some suggestions for future videos. I hope that you have a great holiday and winter season and are all enjoying the last few days of the year of 2020. It has certainly been quite the wild ride, and I'm sure we're all excited to see what 2021 has in store. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like. If you really enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really means a lot. I put a lot of effort into the photos and videos that I share with you, and I'm looking forward to making more content in the future. Have a good one.